So how did you first become interested in the issue of federal debt?
Well, at the Bradley Foundation, which is a foundation that was created by two brothers at the turn of the 1900s, who built a business in Milwaukee, and ultimately when that business was sold, it created the Bradley Foundation. But the Bradley brothers cared deeply about limited government, entrepreneurial spirit, a civil society, a strong constitutional order, and they would have cared deeply and did care deeply during their times about the state of the American government. And as we look at where we are today, I think they'd probably be appalled to see a booming debt and out of control debt, and sadly, very little conversation among leaders of either party about what to do about it. That's why, in part, why we're here today, and hopefully we can make some progress.
Yeah. What do you think the Bradley brothers would consider being the solution to solving the national debt crisis?
Pretty easy: less government, less regulation. Let people like them who failed more than once get back on their feet and start all over again, but not be burdened by regulation, costly regulation that just hinders innovation and, again, that entrepreneurial spirit that is so unique in this country.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what is the most important point that you want to make today that you hope the audience remembers?
We've got out of control debt, and we've got to do something about it. And somebody has to take leadership on this. It's not easy for politicians to change course, particularly when it comes to things like entitlements that are such a huge part of our budget, or lack of a budget these days. But someone's got to have that courage.
Right.
And I think a good reason to have this gathering today is to bring awareness to it. We will have some members of Congress, some former members of Congress here. We've got to talk about it. It means changing the way our entitlement system works. It means just reducing the size of government and getting this budget somewhat under control, like all of us do in our daily lives.
Yeah, we have, numerous Coolidge senators in there, in the room right now. Does it encourage you to see so many young people learning about the issue of the debt of this nation?
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. This is the leadership of tomorrow. These are the members of Congress of tomorrow.
Right.
My hope is that this generation does not leave them with a giant mess that's almost impossible to solve. This is an issue we've got to deal with right now. But it is fantastic that the Coolidge senators and all of the students that are here to hear this and to absorb this, and I'm sure they'll have ideas too.
Absolutely. Is President Calvin Coolidge's budget and debt legacy still relevant today?
Well, of course. Under Calvin Coolidge, the percentage of debt to GDP was at its lowest. Since that time, it has only gone up.
Right.
That's not a good thing. Calvin Coolidge cared about this. Too many of our leaders today, again, of both parties, just don't seem to care. It matters, and it's going to have a dramatic impact on this country going forward unless we get it under control.
Absolutely. What do you think Americans today should remember from Coolidge?
He understood what the presidency was all about. We don't have kings in this country. He cared about the separation of powers. Congress had its role. The executive has its role. Judicial branch, obviously. He thought about debt. He thought about the state of fiscal affairs in this country.
It kept him up
We
at
can
night.
we can learn a lesson from that, and I think the country longs for leadership like that. May not be popular all the time. It takes courage. Coolidge had that, and hasn't been enough of it in recent times.
What era of American politics would you say you are most interested in?
Oh, it's all so fascinating. Our founders were brilliant in what they did and the Constitution that they crafted. It's an amazing document. In my own lifetime, certainly Ronald Reagan was an important person, a great communicator, really governed by personal principles that he didn't stray from. I worked for President George W. Bush. I served as his ambassador in the Czech Republic. I have a great deal of respect for the Bush family, including my former boss. But again, I think it's hard to pinpoint any one point in time. This is an exceptional, unique country, and I learned that living and working overseas. But as Reagan always said, you got to work for that. You got to keep fighting for that, and you can't forget that we may just be one generation away from not having the freedoms and liberties that we have today. So I'm not going to give you a real specific answer on that, but when you look at the history of this country, it's amazing, and we should celebrate that. There's not enough celebration of the greatness of America today. We've all had more opportunity than anyone else on earth.
Absolutely,
And
even today.
Even today. And it's because we're Americans. We were fortunate to be Americans.
Absolutely, absolutely. If there was one thing that you would want to leave us off on, that you hope everyone remembers, including the future generation of leaders, what would that be?
Again, stay positive. We've got massive problems in this country, but stay positive. Glass half full. American ingenuity can solve an awful lot of problems. Let's get at this task, and let's continue to celebrate the greatest country on earth.
Wonderful. Ambassador, thank you very much.
My
It's been a
pleasure.
pleasure to have you.